If we take the function example from the prior video and add one more step, we arrive at the event listener. Event listeners are a way of handling and reacting to events like mouse clicks and other things similar to that, and then calling functions when those events occur. Event listeners are actually a lot easier to understand than most people think. Imagine if you were back in grade school and there was a classroom of 10 people. When the bell rang at the end of the class, all 10 students who were trained to understand what that meant would get up and leave. But also imagine if each of the 10 of you, when walking through the door, was told something by the teacher, and one of you was told to stand up when a certain word was pronounced. In other words, 1 out of the 10 students was trained to react to a single message, a single word being pronounced that would cause that student to stand up. During the class, when the teacher pronounced that word, 1 student out of the 10 would stand. This demonstrates the power and effectiveness of event listeners. You have 2 situations here. One in which all 10 students will react, which is the sounding of the bell that marks the end of class, and then all students would leave. And then another where a single student was told to listen for a particular message, and then a single student stood when a word was pronounced. All we have to do is set up the definition of the behavior, which is the function, that would be leaving the class or standing up, and then we define the event that would trigger that action. So in our example, that would be the bell ringing or the teacher pronouncing the word. And then we simply associate the 2. So let's take a look at the structure of this file. Here on the stage in the upper right-hand corner is a button. The instance name of this button is rect button, for rectangular button. Here in the listener, we see that instance name and the add event listener method being added to that button, which of course I'll explain in just a moment. So now let's look at the code. We have a function structure which is exactly the same as the prior example, with one simple exception. We now have an argument to discuss. We skipped over that last time because our parentheses were empty. So let's review real quickly. We have the function keyword defining the function. We have a unique name for this function. We have parentheses. Again, let's skip the argument for just a moment. We have data type for return. We're not returning anything, so our data type is void. And then we have open and close brace with the instructions therein. Now we move on to the event listener. We already have the behavior we wish to trigger in the form of our function. Now all we have to do is identify the event and figure out how it calls that function. Over here on the right, we have mouseEvent.click. This is simply saying that the type of event we're working with is the mouse event rather than event, which would be for frame scripts. And we need to know which event associated with the mouse we're going to use. And in this case, we're going to use the mouse click. Now we know what event we're seeking. We know what event we're trained to listen for. That is the click of the mouse. Now what do we do when we get that event? When we capture that event, when we know it occurred, what do? And that is, we call the function by this name, onRectButtonClick. And that's the function that we've defined previously. So now that we know the event we're listening for, and we know what to do when we hear it, all we have to do is associate that pair to something that is trained to do the listening, and that is our button. So again, we define a function that is supposed to be triggered when the event occurs. We determine which event we're going to listen for and what to do when we hear it. And then we simply say who is supposed to be doing the listening. In this case, the button will listen for all of these things. So when the button hears the mouse click, it will call the function. Now let's quickly talk about our argument. In simple terms, an argument is a kind of variable that only has life inside the function. Its purpose is to receive information from the function call so that the function can use that information to vary its outcome. When determining argument names, such as this EVT, short for event, we need to follow the same rules that we observed when naming variables. In this case, EVT, or event, will contain information about the event that triggered the function. So we also want to data type our argument, and in this case, we're going to give it a data type of mouseEvent. And as you can see, that's what we're passing in, mouseEvent.click. In practice, we'll be creating very simple event listeners in this course, and therefore we won't need to rely on this argument. However, in ActionScript 3 Essential Training, we'll see that we can get information from the event, such as which button was clicked on, or other related information. For now, we only need to know that the event must be there, and that as we discussed in the Variable Basics video, the data type should match the expected data to avoid errors. And again, we're saying that we're going to pass in a mouse event, and we are, mouseEvent.click. So let's try this ourselves, and let's tie in everything we've learned so far. First, let's use a frame script to initialize our event listener. So we'll choose the Actions layer, Frame 1, and we'll open up our Actions panel. Okay, second, let's comment our code to make sure we know what we're doing later on. Let's put in a single line comment or a double slash, and we'll say we're making navigation buttons. Next, let's create a variable that we can manipulate. So we'll say we're declaring the variable with the var keyword. We'll give it a valid name, next section, and we'll give it a data type of string, and we'll give it a value of home. Next, we'll set up a function to trigger when the event occurs. So let's say function on home clicked, again an arbitrary name. Let's call it on home click. And then we'll say EVT mouse event. And we're not going to return anything from the function, so we'll give it a data type of void. And we'll open up our braces here. Then inside the braces, let's just redefine the variable. Next section equals products, so we can see that our function is working. And then in order to get some immediate results, let's use our trace action and trace the value of that variable so we can see the change. And then finally, let's add our listener, and we called the button on stage rect button. So we'll add to that, add event listener, and we'll say mouse event dot click. That's the event we're looking for. And the function we want to call is on home click. Okay, great. So now we're all done, and let's check and make sure it works. Before we do that, we need to go through our script here just so we know what to expect. The first thing that occurs in this script is that the variable is defined and populated. The second is that the function and listener are defined. Here's the function in 5 through 8, and then in line 10 we've defined our listener. The contents of the function won't execute until they're called. And the listener has been added to the button, which is set up to listen for our mouse event.click. So we start off with a value of home. When we then click on the button, the function is called, which re-evaluates or reassigns a value of products to next section, and then next section is traced to the output window. So the ultimate result is we get nothing initially in the output window, and then when we click the button, the variable is redefined and we get the new result in the output window. All right, let's test it and see how it works. Control test movie. So we get initially nothing as we expected. Let me hide this for you. And then when we click on our button, the output window shows us products. So that's exactly what we wanted. All right, let's close our output window and let's close our Swift and go back to our main movie. Okay, so that's an overview of how to create an event listener. And now that we have this under our belt, we can take the same process and apply it to several buttons. We'll create multiple listeners and functions for our navigation buttons, and then we'll begin to control other elements such as our components and so on as we go through the course.